So in today's video, we're going to cover a very common question that gets asked, and that is, when you play the shot, should you be looking at the cue ball or the object ball at the time you strike? So when you're playing a shot like this one, so I'm trying to pop this red, when I actually deliver the cue and finally hit, should I be looking at the white or should I be looking at the red? So this is a constant debate in the world of snooker about whether it should be the white ball or the object ball that you're looking at. And we're going to give some examples in this video and clear up exactly what matters in terms of what you should be looking at when you strike. And first of all, when I first started doing YouTube videos quite a while ago now, I said this. And then the last thing is, what should you be looking at last when you finally deliver the cue? Again, I know lots of good players that say they look at the cue ball, so there's lots of century break players that say they look at the cue ball last, so if that works for them, great. Again, just I think the point is, get your own eye rhythms when you're down on the shot, and then also, whether you look at the object ball or the cue ball, do what feels comfortable for you, not what anyone else is telling you to do. So then in a much more recent video of mine, I then said this. And that brings us on to our final point, which is that we must be looking at the object ball at the time that we play the shot and at the time that we strike. So you can see there that originally I'd said it doesn't really matter what you're looking at, as long as you understand what it is you're trying to do and paying attention to aiming the shot properly. It doesn't really matter what you finally end up looking at. But then in a recent video I said, make sure you're looking at the object ball. Now, having coached hundreds of players on the table now, and also studied lots of the professional players and watching exactly what their eye rhythms are doing, I'm actually straight back to my original opinion, which is that it just does not matter what you're looking at the time that you strike. Your brain is taking in lots of information, and then what you finally end up looking at that split second as the cue tip makes contact with the white, it just doesn't matter. So let's move the camera around, have a look at some examples, and I'm going to show some graphics on the screen that show you exactly how your eyes should be behaving and the best things to think about for a consistent approach. Okay, so the camera's in a good position now for me to show you some graphics on the screen to give you an idea of what my eyes are doing when I'm aiming shots. Now, the first thing that's really important is we want to know why the eyes are moving about on the shot in the first place. And that is because we're trying to get lots of information when we're aiming a snooker shot. It's not just a case of doing all our aiming standing up and then just taking the shot for granted once we get down. We're still doing some important checks once we're down on the shot. So if I was to get down on this shot here, and I'll show on the screen what my eyes are doing. Okay, so you will have seen there that my eyes did a few different flicks between the white ball and the object ball, the white ball, the object ball. When I finally hit the shot, my eyes were looking at the object ball. Now that's what I personally do, but that doesn't mean that that's what everybody has to do. So let's have a look at another common way that players their eye rhythms might work. So they're going to work in a similar way once they're down, so they're doing their feathers. Now watch this one. Okay, so you'll have seen that time that they were slightly different, the eye rhythms. I did the same kind of thing in terms of looking between the two balls, and that's really important because you're looking at exactly where you want to strike on the white ball, so you're making sure that if you're playing a stun shot like I am here, that I'm hitting just below centre. That's an important check to do. And then the other one is I'm just making sure that, yeah, I'm still going to strike the object ball where I want, and I'm happy that I'm striking nice and precisely. And then when I played the shot that time, you'll have seen that my eyes flicked. As I hit, I was looking at the cue ball, and then they very quickly flicked to the object ball. And that's what a lot of professional players do. Now you've got other professional players that absolutely look at the object ball. So let's look at a few examples there then. So if we look at Mark Allen, I've tried to give a couple of examples here. We can see that Mark Allen's eye rhythms, he's doing his checks between the two balls. That's really important, that he's making sure, okay, I'm hitting the cue ball where I want, and I'm still going to hit the object ball where I want. When he strikes, you can see that Mark goes very quickly from the cue ball and then looks up to the object ball. So Mark Allen is looking at the cue ball right at the time that he's striking. So now let's look at Ding Junhui. Now he's somebody that looks at the object ball right at the point that the cue tip makes contact with the white. So you can see again, Ding is doing a few checks between the white ball and the object ball to make sure his aiming is correct and he's going to hit precisely. And then when he finally is going to play the shot, you can see he flicks up to the object ball and he stays there and he delivers the cue just staring at the object ball. And that's what works for Ding. So you've got two different styles there. You've got Mark Allen that he's just looking at the white for a split second as he hits, and then you've got Ding Junhui who's looking at the object ball as he hits. So another example here, we see Judd Trump. He's somebody that looks at the object ball at the time of striking. So he's playing a safety shot here, trying to clip these two reds thin. And you can see his eyes moving, and you can see him doing a few checks between cue ball, object ball, cue ball, object ball. And then when he plays, you can see he firmly just concentrates on the object ball and he hits through the shot. And as he's striking the white, his eyes are looking at that object ball. Now, is either one of those right or wrong? Absolutely not, no. They're both absolutely completely fine, and you don't have to copy one or the other. Now, the really important things is that you're doing those checks as you're lining up the shot. But then exactly what your eyes are looking at as you strike, you do not want to analyse it. And to be honest, with eye rhythms, it's best to not analyse it at all. So the way I always try and explain it to people, imagine when you're driving your car, you're doing all kinds of checks when you drive your car. So you're looking at the rear view mirror, you're looking at the side mirrors, you're looking at your speedo to make sure you're going the right speed. You might be looking at the car in front of you, you might be looking at the side of the road at pedestrians. Your brain is taking in lots of information all the time when you're driving. And just because we're playing a game here, it's absolutely no different. You're letting your brain take in lots of information it needs so that you can successfully play a shot. So when you're playing these shots, the really important thing you're doing is making sure that you can see my eyes flicking between the two, doing a few checks, and then I play the shot. So that's what's important, that you know why you're doing those checks between the two balls. Now, if you're an older player, we know that as we age, it takes longer for your eyes to focus from short distance to longer distance. So in snooker, imagine we're playing a long pot, a long range shot. You might find that it takes your eyes a little bit of time to settle from when it's looked at the cue ball to the object ball. But I think the way to get around that is to just make sure you spend enough time doing your aiming checks, and again, not really analyse it too much. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they try and analyse their eye rhythms too much, and I always find it just messes people's games up. I occasionally even get it myself if I've suddenly thought about what my eyes are doing on the shot. You can miss a really simple shot just because you're thinking about exactly what your eyes are doing. And when I'm playing at my very best, I couldn't possibly tell you what my eyes are doing. I'm not even thinking about my eye rhythms. As I get down to shots, my brain is just taking in enough information between the white and the object ball. I'll just do a few feathers, and that gives me all the information that I need. So I've set myself up with the colours here, and I'm going to clear these colours, and I'm going to show with graphics on the screen just what my eyes are looking at. Now these eye rhythms are absolutely unique to me. This is what I do. I've never really analysed it. Over time, just playing enough snooker, you'll just build up that natural eye rhythm, gaining enough information on the shot so you feel nice and comfortable. So let's come round to here, and I'll just play these now, and you'll just see what my eyes are doing on the shot. So round to the next one. Round to the brown now. Okay, so hopefully that was useful. You can see that the biggest thing that's happening there for me is when I'm doing that colours clearance, there's a few checks going on between the two balls. That's just making sure, okay, I'm happy that I'm striking the white where I want. I'm happy that I'm going to strike the object ball where I want. And then for me, when I finally play, I'll do one last little pause at the white. That's when I then flick to the object ball and I stay there all the way through my backswing and delivery. That's what I do. Don't copy what I'm doing. Come up with your own rhythm that just feels natural, but the biggest thing is don't analyse it too much. So I hope that makes people feel a bit better about their eye rhythms and what they should be looking at and what's important. I was trying to find some good examples of Ronnie O'Sullivan actually as well in this video, because he's somebody that tends to change between, sometimes he'll look at the object ball as he's striking and sometimes he'll look at the cue ball. But it's very difficult to try and zoom in and see exactly what his eyes are looking at. But definitely through watching lots and lots of videos of Ronnie, he looks like he changes between the two, which again just proves that it doesn't really matter that much, as long as you've done enough checks when you're down that you feel nice and comfortable. As always, if you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please give the video a like. If you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. That just really helps me to keep making these instructional videos. If anyone's interested in any personal one-to-one coaching sessions, it looks like very soon now with the COVID situation, I'll be able to continue those on the table. So have a look at my website or contact me at steve@bartonsnooker.co.uk. And as always, thanks for watching everybody. See you in the next one. Cheers.